All right, welcome everyone to the session 3. Let's start. I'll start sharing my screen. All right, so last time we covered polymorphism and error handling. Next, we want to do is we want to implement a factory pattern for creating our books. So instead of us doing this random, this concrete instantiation, right, where we are telling, okay, we want to instantiate an ebook, a printed book, things like that. Instead of it, um, we want to use factory pattern so that we can just tell the factory, okay, we want an ebook, and it gives us that without us, having to know there is an ebook class that exists or a printed book class that exists. So let me just give a basic idea. So we'll be implementing all these patterns, first starting with the factory pattern. um, Library item factory with the static method that produce library item, could be printed book, ebook, magazine, etc., given everything, right? Okay, so here we'll need to create another book. It's a class, and this will be library item factory. All right, so we have library item factory. This will have a static method that produces library item, and what's the expected name for this is create item. Okay, so you have a static, and it will return back a book at the end. So actually, I'll rename the book to library item because we are calling this factory library item factory, right? So it makes sense that it returns library items instead of book. um, let's first do that then. So instead of book, let's call this library item. Or probably we can use some refactoring here. Um, yeah, you can do that with IntelliJ, but I don't think Cursor has that ability yet. But let's see, rename symbol. Okay, book, rename symbol. There is no other refactors. Let's do this. Uh, Library item. All right. It changed most of the things, but it didn't change. Oh, it changed the file name also, which is good. Then you have ebook and printed book. That's fine. Here it extends library item. All right. Everything else is fine. Same for ebook. This also extends library item. Here we'll have a static method. I believe it's like static library item create item and etic string type and all the other things that are uh, library items need. But what should be the order, because different library items needs different things. Ebook needs everything that library item needs, but it also needs file size MB. So we have a skeleton we will use. Right. Oh, so we're just doing extra. It's not scalable, obviously. Doesn't look like a good design, but let's just do that. Yeah. So going back to library item factory, because our goal is to understand the factory pattern. This needs to be public library item, and it takes all the three things that are library item needs. So I'll just copy this, go back here, these three things, and double extra, right? Not ideal again, but mm, yeah. Now switch type. If it's ebook, we'll have it return. Let's just first create it. Or just return it. Return new ebook. Title author ISBN extra. Yeah, that's fine. If the case is printed book, new printed book, and everything else is passed. Okay, and default case. Okay, I don't know what rules it is. So it's crying because default case is not that, right? It's called default. Mm, Probably it's not called, yeah, or something like this. Yep. Cool. So this is good. Create item does this, and now in our main, instead of instantiating those classes directly, we can do create item, right? So let's see what the test case expects us to do. Right. Yeah. Let's do this. I don't know what all these errors are. Probably cursor is not seeing it as a Java project, but Java is ready. Anyways, so we have this. Let me try to run this file. It's saying library item factory cannot be resolved. But library item factory is part of this package. Oh no, we didn't add the package name. So because there is no Java oops now. That's why. So I should probably put it inside a folder, and then oops, and then all of this goes within. Yeah, now it should work. So author Java. Oh, actually, it was not Java oops. It was, I mean, it was Java underscore oops, right? So um, let's move it out again to Java, right? and we can delete this folder, and we can rename this to Java. Oops. Hmm. I'll just remove the package. That makes any sense, right? Through any error. Yeah. Sometimes it takes time to, figure out that things are right. Uh, but anyway, we don't need these imports because we are already in Java. Oops. Right. Put that here. Tell it, okay, you are part of Java. Oops. Which it is. Incorrect package. Incorrect package. Hmm. We'll see. Utils is fine. This is fine. This is fine. At least we have less number of reds, which is generally good thing. Hmm. Oh, yeah. Not the tests, the actual file. So it ran things. We have ebook.print details, category, and then printed book.print details. So it worked for ebook, but it didn't work for printed books. Print book is null. Hmm. So this is null. Printed book or create item. Probably the type value is different. Yeah, I made it in camel casing. All right. I don't like this, but it will probably get fixed if I just refresh the thing. All right, now it works. Let's pass it back and see what's the next step. But I hope you understand the point, right? We instead of directly instantiating the classes, we are now using a library item factory, passing it the required input, and the factory is creating the required class for us based on the type. So that's the whole idea behind factory pattern. All right. Singleton pattern for your library manager. This will centralize control. Only one manager instance coordinates items, borrowing, and use users. Would you like how to integrate, or do you want to design it solo first? Hmm. Singleton pattern for your library manager. This will centralize control, ensuring only okay. Instead of getting the skeleton, let's see if it can provide us more details. Can you detail this? We know what a singleton pattern is. Um, a class can has only one instance of the application, right? And provide a global access point to that access instance. Why use singleton? In library system, having someone would like to coordinate all library items, borrowing and user actions, and consistency in preventing conflict state. There's only one library menu. If various parts of your code try to access are created, all request, adding, searching, borrowing notification funnel through this manager. Mm, so some kind of manager takes which does something. Let's see the example usage and we can implement the library manager ourselves. So here is the manager. It will have a get instance function which will return the library manager instance, and no matter how many times you call it, it returns the same object back. That's the whole idea behind Singleton. um, Creating item with author factory, which is fine. Then manager dot add item ebook. Got it. So you can create the books, but you can, I mean, when you want to add it to the library, you need to use the manager. Okay, cool. And do we need to just have add item and add user? I think Perplexity just took a big step and added user. Let me ask it to narrow it down. Mm, let's narrow the requirement down and specify what all operations you want me to add to library manager. All right. So library manager, add and manage items, library items, right? Add item, remove item to the inventory. Find item, search and return an item by ISBN. Find a user, borrow and return operations. Facilitate borrowing if the item is available. Okay, search. I want to simplify this. Let's just focus on adding and managing library items. I think the scope is still very big. It's for the core set of operations. Okay. All right. So these are the three things we'll do. Add item to the library collection. Search for an item by ISBN. List all items. Borrow and return functionality. Borrow an item given SBN. Return an item given SBN. Keep track of borrowed state at the manager level. Um, okay. Singleton access. Singleton. So, okay. So we removed all the user related and other stuff, right? Yeah, this sounds like a nice. Narrow down scope. So let's implement it. Um, so first of all, we need a manager, library manager. Okay, what's the problem? Hmm. All right, something is off, but anyways, let's just create a file. Hmm. Library manager dot java. Library manager. Say right name. Yeah, cool. So first of all, we need to implement the singleton pattern, right? Because in our main class, we'll be calling it uh, with the get instance. So if we go back here, get instance, right, and it should return back the object that it creates. So we have a get instance function, and since we need to call it directly from the class, it has to be static, public static, and it returns library manager, obviously. um, doesn't take anything. It says if there is already an instance of library manager, then return that instance, or otherwise create one, right? So here, mm, library manager instance. If library manager instance is there, then return library manager instance. Actually, it's not null. And if it's two equals or one equal, that's fine. And if it's null, we need to create it. So library manager instance is equal to new uh, library manager. Oops. Seems like I pulled a wire on my monitor. Just give me a second. Mm, yeah, all right. Anyway, my monitor is gone. Let's just directly do this. So where were we? Yeah. We create the library manager instance, and we also return it. Right. Obviously, we don't have a constructor for it, so let's create a constructor. Mm, Constructor is public void library manager. Obviously, it doesn't need any uh, variables or anything, so this dot library manager instance equal to new library manager. Then probably cannot make a static reference to the non-static field. Yeah, that's right. So let's make it private static. Is that possible? Yeah. Now this is good. Yeah. If it's a constructor, you don't need to define the return type because it's default. Like the void is the only return type. Um, Static field should be accessed. Yeah, that's right. So we can probably just get rid of this, and that should be fine. So we have this. Now let's implement the other methods. Right. So we need add item, find item by ISBN, list all items, borrow item, and return item. Okay. Let's do add item first. So obviously it's a public void add item, and it will give us a library item, and we need to add it. So which means we'll need to create a um a collection of that, right? So how can we store it? I can create a just a list. So let's see what operation do we need, right? Um, we need to find it by ISBN. We need to list all of them. We need to borrow based on ISBN, and we need to return based on ISBN. So I think it can be a map of ISBN to the actual item, right? So let's do that, and let's keep it private, obviously. Private. I forgot the in syntax for the collection. Let's just try it. It can be a hash map, mm, string, and library item. This is the type, and let's call it library items. Hash map cannot be resolved to a type. Map. Hash map is an implementation. For this, I think we need to import the utils package. If we imported it somewhere, let's just get that. Yeah. All right. Um, and let's just call it hash map library items. So whenever someone wants to add an item, library items dot add or put whatever method is there. Let's see. I want to switch to IntelliJ, but I don't have that on the system, so it's a bit difficult. Um, okay, put string and library. Yeah, I think yeah, put is the right thing. Item dot ISBN and the item. What is the value that library item has? Library item. It's ISBN only, but it's private, right? So we'll have to use item dot get ISBN. Yeah, cool. So that's the add item, and then let's go to the next one, which is find item by ISBN. This is also easy. Um, Public. What should it return? Should it return the item or just the true value? It returns a library item, right? So public library item, find item by ISBN. It takes the string ISBN and library items dot get probably, or something else. We'll see. Pass it the ISBN. Library items. Yeah. Okay. Seems fine. Then we have list all items, so it gives list of all the items. Going back, list of library items. Now it's a list and we have a map, so probably we'll have to cast it from map to list, but I think a map is a list. I'm not sure about the hierarchy of the classes here. I read about it somewhere. So list of items, return, let's say library items. Now it will obviously cry. Why do I always misspell this? Okay, now cannot convert from hash map string library item to list of library item, right? So I think we can do new list, something like this. Mm, Type safety, the expression of type list needs unchecked conversion to confirm to this thing. Yeah, probably I'll have to ask cursor for this. All right, that's the help is not coming. um, let's just do something else. How about we create a list to start with? But then it won't allow us to do lookups easily, right? Let's do a map. We have map because a hash map is a map, right? That takes us a little higher in the hierarchy. Um, generate type list A should be parameterized. Okay, so list. Sorry, library item. Something happened. Cannot instantiate the type list of library item. This precise control over the list each element is inserted. Thus you can access them by an integer index, position the list, and search for the elements in the list. Unlike sets list allow. Hmm. Okay, probably I can just Google the good old ways, right? Uh, convert map to list Java. Okay, well, list in several ways depending on whether the keys, values, or key value are desired in the list. Converting map to a list. I just need the values. Only the values from the map. Um, we have the map, new array list of string my. Okay, so yeah, probably just do this and return value list. And my map is obviously library items. Okay, still crying. Cannot infer type argument for this thing. Yeah, because it's list of library item. Yeah, cool. That was list all items. Now, what's the next requirement? We have borrow item and return item. Where do you want to store that information? Keep track of borrowed state at the manager level or delegate to items. Yeah. Um, so our items actually have that class, those methods, right? Borrowed items, and they already maintain that state that is it borrowed or not. So yeah, that is the function also. So when someone call borrow item and provide us an item, we can just call the mm, borrow item function of the item itself, right? Yeah. So let me just get the signature of these two. Borrow item, return item. Why does it return boolean? Mm, what does the boolean mean? Why do they return boolean? Mm, yeah, but I think I would just like I want to use exceptions. If you remember, we implemented exceptions in the books classes, right? Yeah, perplexity after, I mean, the thread becomes long, it can lose context. All right. Now that makes more sense. I mean, obviously, returning boolean is not ideal. So I'll just do public void borrow item. And are you providing ISBN or are you providing item? Hmm, ISBN. Nice. So string ISBN. What it does is it will first get from the list the ISBN. If it's not there, then what? But anyways, let's assume it's there. Um, library item. I can just call this dot find item by ISBN. Pass it the ISBN. This is your library item, and I can obviously join all of this, but let's keep it simple. Library item is this, then we want to call the borrow item function of that, right? Now it will say this can throw an exception, so we need to follow is undefined. Hmm. hmm. Oh, it's just borrow, I think. Let's see. We have library item. It oh, this doesn't have the borrowable type, but the actual ebooks and printed books implements it. Hmm. Yeah, that's a problem, right? Because they don't know about it, right? The compiler doesn't know that library item, so we can actually instead of this, but we have to keep it. So the higher order should know about it. So let's just do this. Extends, mm, not extends implements borrowable. And since it's abstract, I don't think it will cry that those things are not present. Now here, yeah. Uh, Now it says that it throws an exception. So we can either catch it or we can throw it, right? So we can just say, okay, throw borrow exception. Cool. This was borrow item. Then we have return item. Um, all right. And probably I want to do one other thing. Then you don't need to do this thing because when you're extending library items, you already have the um, here also. This is not needed. Okay. Going back. Let's just remove this also if it's not needed. Okay. Let's see. How do you want to run this, right? So did we implement all of them? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so I completed the implementation for the singleton. Can you provide the test code? Hmm. All right, here is it. Hmm. Okay, this is the main class which keeps on changing. All right, let's run this. Cannot invoke Java util map put object because this dot library items is null. Hmm. So what happened? We are putting an item in the map. Why is it an object? Object should be a string object because the start library items is null. Hmm, should we instantiate it? Oh yeah, new hash map or something. Let's just do hash map. Yeah, we need to do this also. All right, now it should work. So the problem was library items was null, right? And then we are just doing calling, but this make sure when we instantiate library manager, we set this to an empty hash map. All right, now we have something. Let's just pass it. I don't want to see like if it's correct or incorrect. Let's just pass it to perplexity and let it tell us. Hmm. Okay, flawlessly shows your design handle. Okay, so which means we implemented correctly. Let's go back and commit it. So factory pattern and singleton pattern. All right, that's it for now. We are already out of time, and see you in the next session.